It's summer and 'tis the season for fried green delicious. Wait till you try this recipe. It's worth your time. Hello, welcome back to my kitchen. This is Texas Cooking Today. Folks, if this is the first time you've ever seen Texas Cooking Today, I do 2 videos for every recipe. One is a plain Jane recipe video. It doesn't tell you a lot about how to do things. And one is a tutorial. That's this one, where we get into a lot of detail. Now today, believe it or not, how do you do that? How do you get into a lot of detail about fried green tomatoes? We're going to go into depth on this, okay? There's different ways of battering a green tomato, and there's different ways of choosing green tomatoes, and there's a lot of thinking that can go into even the simplest of recipes. Like, how do you want to batter it? Do you want to use flour? Do you want to use cornmeal? Do you want to use breadcrumbs? Do you want to use panko crumb? What do you want to use? Do you want to use an egg and milk base? Do you want to use buttermilk base? There's a lot of options. So we're going to get into every bit of that today, and we're going to discuss that and bring out different options on oil and tomatoes and what you're battering it with. So right now, as I promised last year and earlier this year in this season, doing some ground to table videos. Well, I've got my bowl. We're going to go out and we're going to get some tomatoes right out of the garden. Fresh, vine ripe, well, not ripe, but vine right off the vine, fresh tomatoes. We're going to take those, slice them up, cook them up, and make some delicious fried green tomatoes. And I'm going to do a sauce with it too. I've decided to do a Chipotle aioli. It's a pretty simple thing, and you'll like it once you try it. It goes great with this. So, fried green tomatoes. Let's go out to the garden. Let's get some tomatoes. Come on. Okay, let's take a look at what I got here. Oh, yeah. We got some really big tomatoes for Roma's. Really good looking. Yeah. I want to find something that's just at the right stage, and most of these down here are just about right. I'm just making sure. There we go. And another one here. All right. Nothing like fresh tomatoes. And these are starting to turn a little bit on the yellow side, so we know we're right on the edge. Yep, that'll do the trick. Okay. All right. Went ahead and got some ripe ones that are ready. All right, we are in from the garden. We've got tomatoes. Now, these beautiful ripe ones, those are for me. That's for later. I'm gonna be using those in salads or other things. Oh yeah. These are the ones that we've gathered for this. Got some beautiful ones here that are just beginning to turn on us, change colors. This one that's well into it, it's just starting to get a little red, but it's still good and firm. I need to wash these real quick. After we wash them, we're going to get on with this, okay? Okay, I've got some tomatoes sitting there. Let me get this pan. I also have a pan here, and this pan has a little bit of parchment on it. I'm going to be putting my sliced tomatoes right on this. I'm doing that quite on purpose because I want this to soak up some of the moisture from these. We're going to like demoisturize them, I guess you could say. So anyway, simple enough. Let's take our knife, and now let me remind you, when you're cutting with stuff, and you got a sharp knife, this is important, folks. Keep those fingers turned under like this, and that way you don't cut your fingertips as you're working on something. And this is the way they teach chefs to do it. They also teach them to keep that thumb behind the fingers so nothing gets cut. And then the other thing is pinch the blade, wrap your fingers around the handle, and that way you don't have a blade that'll roll on you, where it's like this in your hand. that sucker can roll on you and be pointing the wrong direction. Bad things can happen. So hold it right. Let's get this up here. I'm going to take off just a thin slice of that. And this is what's nice about having a good sharp knife too. It doesn't require a lot of effort to get something done. And I'm wanting these to be right about 3/8 of an inch. Look at that red in there. Nice and pink inside. Oh, that's going to be a good one, isn't it? Yeah. All right, now this one. And of course, having that knife just freakishly sharp is very helpful. I'm going to set these over here, get them pulling the moisture out as I go ahead and work the rest of these. There we are. Those are a little bit firmer. But this also kind of, highlights why it is really important to have a very sharp knife, because a knife that's dull will just mangle these. It'll ruin them. But a knife that's good and sharp gives you a very crisp, clean cut, and you have a good quality product in the end. Now, when it comes to seasoning, what do you season the fried green tomato with? Well, we start with salt, folks. And the salt's going to do a couple of things. It's going to help to pull out some of the moisture. Now, if you're wondering how does that happen, how does salt cause moisture to get pulled out? Well, it works like this. Salt has a property. It's called supersorptive, okay? Now, supersorptive means that something absorbs water and then just keeps absorbing it, the way a sponge would do. Now, there are a couple of items I can think of right off the top of my head that are supersorptive. Of course, one thing that we're using, salt, that's edible. Another thing that's used in animal feed, which would be diatomaceous earth. Diatomaceous earth is supersorptive. That's actually how it kills bugs. It bonds to their exoskeleton and it dries them out from the outside in. Works really cool. Okay, so supersorptive allows you to pull moisture out. That's exactly what's happening here. So, and in the other side of it, it seasons it, okay? It gives us some flavor there and helps that fried green onion to really stand out as something special that pops. So salt helps to bring out flavors. So I'm using some cracked black pepper. And when I say cracked, this pepper mill right here has a different grinding mechanism than a lot of them do. A lot of them grind the pepper. This one actually crushes it. It breaks it apart into small pieces instead of grinding it between burrs. And it is very efficient, as you can see. All right, these are ready to go. Let's prep the batter, okay? That's the next thing to do. Okay, folks, the measurements I'm going to do are approximate. I'm using also some oregano, basil, and tarragon to this right here, which is panko breadcrumbs. Now, if I want to measure, it doesn't hurt, to every rough cup of panko that I do, I want to add in a little bit of flavor to that, okay? And I'm going to use some herbs. This is oregano. I want to start with about 1 teaspoon oregano, okay? On the basil, I'm using basil also, I want about 2 teaspoons, 1, 2, of the basil. And on that tarragon, and yes, these measurements are fairly accurate. I've been doing it that long. I've gotten very good at it. I want 2 teaspoons of this tarragon. Break some of those leaves down a little. There we go. There we go. I think we got a nice mixture here. So basically what I have is panko breadcrumbs with Italian seasoning going on. That's kind of the way that would read if it were on someone's label. All right, so the next thing, eggs, all right? I have 3 eggs. Whenever I'm using an egg batter, I do a specific ratio. I use 1/4 cup of milk to each egg. You can use half and half if you prefer, or if you want to instead. So I'll pour that in. Break those yolks. And a moment later, with a little whisking, we have our egg and milk. Now I have 3 items involved in this battering process. You only have to use 2, but the 3rd really makes a thicker crust. If you'll start by dusting the tomatoes with a little flour before putting them in your egg and milk mixture, more of this will stick so that more of this will stick. The whole idea is to get this right here, this layer, a little bit thicker. And by using this, it allows that to become thicker because more of this sticks. Does that make sense? I hope so, because that was a lot to say, wasn't it? Okay, simple enough. I'm going to be dusting the tomatoes, running them through the process, and getting them onto what we call a pan rack, which is just a rack that allows you to set food on it for different purposes. So we'll do that and then get busy frying. Alrighty, we are ready to get these little guys battered up, aren't we? Look at all that we're dropping in the way of moisture. It's not huge, but it's enough. Yeah. So what we're going to do now, get them all battered. As I mentioned, I like to use the flour to start with. Now when I'm doing this, I just put it in the flour and shake. Boom, it's finished. Isn't that simple? That's all I had to do. I can knock off any excess if I want. So that's all there is to that part of it. Now, when I'm doing the next part, is simply throw it down into the egg mixture, then into the panko, shake it again. You can pull it out of that panko and set it aside. It's all battered up and ready to go. Wasn't that easy? Oh yes. Those are going to be wonderful. I'm looking forward to them. I'm going to do these 2 at a time to save myself a little bit of work. Once you get started on it, it doesn't take that long, frankly. Now folks, aioli is usually when somebody takes something acidic or flavorful, add it to mayonnaise, mix it together, make a little sauce with it. That's an aioli. Okay, and that's what we're going to make today. Very simple. This one is too easy for words. Mayonnaise and some chipotle sauce. Now, a couple of tablespoons of the chipotle sauce to about 1/2 cup of mayonnaise is generally a really good combination. But what you want to do is to mix yours together, taste it. If you want a little more chipotle flavor, add a little more. That's part of being a good chef and being a good cook, is learning how to work through those flavors and produce what you're really wanting for yourself. Now, if you'll notice how I'm doing this, I've got a spatula and I'm pushing down on it. What happens when you're making an aioli is the mayo will lump up on you, okay, with that thinner material. And you got to just keep working it until it gets past that. And a spatula is a good way to do that because you can take the product and rub it across the bottom like I'm doing here. I'm just doing it real fast. It also allows you to grab what's on the side of the bowls and work it in. See how that's coming together? There. And I can tell by the color because I've made this so many times that I've got it just about right. Now, if I want this to be a little more chipotle-y, just add a little more sauce and it's ready to go. Otherwise, I think, let me find out here. Try a little off the edge there. Absolutely spot on. That is good. So, got a great sauce to go with fried green tomatoes right there. Now my temperature is almost up to 300. I want to be frying these at 350. 325. Don't go over 350 and try not to go under 300 on the fry, all right? Try to control that temperature. I'm using a thermometer and I move it from side to side to make sure it's not scraping the bottom or the edge so that it is free and it's only registering the temperature of the oil. My flame is here in the middle so that's the heat spreading in the oil that's heating this up rather than the bottom of the pan. Be careful that these don't touch the bottom, otherwise you might get a false reading. So I'm waiting for that to come up. Let me take a look at it here. Yeah, we're just a little over 300 now. And as soon as it's hit 325, the tomatoes go into the oil. The oil is at the right temperature. I need to very gently get these down into the oil. Now I want to be careful so as I don't burn myself. So if you'll notice, I'm using something that allows me to very gently slide them right in there. Isn't that too easy? Nice and safe. Nothing is splashing. That's the thing about frying is you got to kind of be gentle with it. And then the other thing, don't overload the fryer, okay? So when you've got plenty in there just like that, make sure you have a good temperature underneath so it'll maintain your fry temperature, and just give it plenty of time to come up. And it does not take long to get these to come out a beautiful golden brown. So don't walk off when you're frying these. Now there is something that needs to be said about tongs and hot oil. All right? When you're turning things in hot oil with tongs, remember, these things act like a spoon. They will scoop oil up for you, and you don't want it hitting your feet or anything else. So be careful with tongs and oil. You also don't want them to spring open while they're in the oil, because if they spring open in the oil, it splashes it, and then, well, people get burned. Be careful. These are looking really good, aren't they? Nice and crispy. They're almost to the color I'm looking for. They're floating, they're not sitting on the bottom. Now when you are draining yours off, you can do it a couple of ways. Paper towels are fine. I like to use a pan rack. It just raises up the food, allows the oil to drain right off. This is very much what it would be commonly done in any commercial setting. They're not going to use paper towels in a commercial kitchen as a general rule. Not for this at least. All right, look at these. Beautiful, beautiful fried tomatoes. Hey folks, you know, it doesn't get much better than this. This is true Southern comfort food right here. It is the real deal. This is what folks like to enjoy in the South when they've got a beautiful summer harvest of tomatoes. Something to enjoy. There we go. You know, most of the time we see them like this, but every once in a while we get to enjoy them in a whole different way. We get to enjoy them like this. Now I want one of these big ones back here. Get some of that aioli. Oh yeah. Mmm. 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 Tangy, delicious, crunchy. There's a lot going on here. That seasoning, it just pops. It's really good. Wait till you try these. They're delicious. Folks, thank you very, very much for watching this, and please look in the description box. You're going to see some links there to Texas Cooking Today, of course. There's another one to my website. That's S.A.Trotter.com. That's where you get the recipes in PDF format. Okay, so I got a lot of other stuff there too. It's really worth checking out, and I'd appreciate you doing that. Thank you for watching this. Please enjoy your fried green tomatoes. Hang on just a second. I want to show you one of my recipes so you'll know it's worth getting. And folks, thank you for watching, and you have a good day. Bye-bye. Yeah. On my website, I have my recipes. That's right, I sell my recipes on my website, and I do that quite on purpose. I provide free tutorials here on YouTube. A lot of people sell their tutorials and give their recipes out for free. I would rather do a really good quality, printed recipe like this, where you have a quality picture of what you're making, a description, what it is, and bullet pointing the ingredients, and designing the ingredients so you know what ingredients are for what. Is it for the rolls or for the filling? You know, in this one at least. Also, all of my instructions are numbered, and often I'll do pictures depicting what needs to be done. My recipes also come with a place on the bottom for notes. It's a great way to do a recipe and to know how to do something when you've never tried it before. Please do me a favor, take a look at S.A.Trotter.com, where I have my recipes in PDF format that I offer the public. Thank you very much, and folks, you have a good day. Bye-bye.